The Odyssey, Book 4. Argument. The Conference with Menelaus. Telemachus, with Pisistratus arriving at Sparta, is hospitably received by Menelaus, to whom he relates the cause of his coming, and learns from him many particulars of what befell the Greeks since the destruction of Troy. He dwells more at large upon the prophecies of Proteus to him in his return, from which he acquaints Telemachus that Ulysses is detained in the island of Calypso. In the meantime, the suitors consult to destroy Telemachus on the voyage home. Penelope is apprised of this, but comforted in a dream by Pallas, in the shape of her sister Iphthyma. And now proud Sparta with their wheels resounds, Sparta whose walls a range of hills surrounds. At the fair dome the rapid labor ends, where sate Atrides midst his bridal friends, with double vows invoking Hymen's power to bless his sons and daughters' nuptial hour. That day to great Achilles' son resigned, Hermione, the fairest of her kind, was sent to crown the long-protracted joy, espoused before the final doom of Troy. With steeds and gilded cars, a gorgeous train attends the nymphs to Phthya's distant reign. Meanwhile at home, to Megapenthes' bed, the virgin choir Alector's daughter led. Brave Megapenthes from a stolen amour to great Atrides' age his handmaid bore. To Helen's bed the gods alone assign Hermione to extend the regal line, on whom a radiant pomp of graces wait, resembling Venus in attractive state. While this gay friendly troop the king surround, with festival and mirth the roofs resound, a bard amid the joyous circle sings high airs attempered to the vocal strings, whilst warbling to the varied strain advance two sprightly youths to form the bounding dance. 'Twas then that issuing through the palace gate the splendid car rolled slow in regal state. On the bright eminence young Nestor shone, and fast beside him great Ulysses' son. Grave Eteoneus saw the pomp appear, and speeding thus addressed the royal ear. Two youths approach, whose semblant features prove their blood devolving from the source of Jove. Is due reception deigned, or must they bend their doubtful course to seek a distant friend? Insensate, with a sigh the king replies. Too long misjudging have I thought thee wise, but sure relentless folly steels thy breast, obdurate to reject the stranger guest. To those dear hospitable rites a foe, which in my wanderings oft relieved my woe, fed by the bounty of another's board, till pitying Jove my native realm restored. Straight be the coursers from the car released, conduct the youths to grace the genial feast. The seneschal, rebuked, in haste withdrew, with equal haste a menial train pursue. Part led the coursers from the car enlarged, each to a crib with choicest grain surcharged. Part in a portico profusely graced, with rich magnificence the chariot placed. Then to the dome the friendly pair invite, who eye the dazzling roofs with vast delight. Resplendent as the blaze of summer noon, or the pale radiance of the midnight moon, from room to room their eager view they bend, thence to the bath a beauteous pile descend, where a bright damsel train attends the guests, with liquid odors and embroidered vests. Refreshed, they wait them to the bower of state, where, circled with his peers, Atrides sate. Throned next the king, a fair attendant brings the purest product of the crystal springs. High on a massy vase of silver mold, the burnished laver flames with solid gold. In solid gold the purple vintage flows, and on the board a second banquet rose. When thus the king, with hospitable port, accept this welcome to the Spartan court. The waste of nature let the feast repair. Then your high lineage and your names declare. Say from what sceptered ancestry ye claim, recorded eminent in deathless fame. For vulgar parents cannot stamp their race with signatures of such majestic grace. Ceasing, benevolent he straight assigns the royal portion of the choicest chines to each accepted friend with grateful haste. They share the honors of the rich repast. Sufficed soft whispering thus to Nestor's son, his head reclined, young Ithacus begun. Viewest thou unmoved, O ever-honored most, these prodigies of art and wondrous cost? Above, beneath, around the palace shines the sunless treasure of exhausted minds. The spoils of elephants the roof inlay, and studded amber darts the golden ray. Such, and not nobler, in the realms above, my wonder dictates, is the dome of Jove. The monarch took the word, and grave replied. Presumptuous are the vaunts, and vain the pride of man who dares in pomp with Jove contest. Unchanged, immortal, and supremely blessed, with all my affluence when my woes are weighed, envy will own the purchase dearly paid, for 8 slow circling years by tempests tossed, from Cyprus to the far Phoenician coast. Sidon the capital, I stretched my toil, through regions fattened with the flows of Nile. Next Ethiopia's utmost bound explore, and the parched borders of the Arabian shore. Then warp my voyage on the southern gales, o'er the warm Libyan wave to spread my sails. That happy clime, where each revolving year the teeming ewes a triple offspring bear, and 2 fair crescents of translucent horn the brows of all their young increase adorn. The shepherd swains, with sure abundance blessed, on the fat flock and rural dainties feast. Nor want of herbage makes the dairy fail, but every season fills the foaming pail. Whilst heaping unwashed wealth, I distant roam, the best of brothers at his natal home. By the dire fury of a traitorous wife ends the sad evening of a stormy life. Whence, with incessant grief, my soul annoyed, these riches are possessed, but not enjoyed. My wars, the copious theme of every tongue, to you, your fathers, have recorded long. How, favoring heaven, repaid my glorious toils with a sacked palace and barbaric spoils. Oh, had the gods so large a boon denied, and life the just equivalent supplied, to those brave warriors who, with glory fired, far from their country in my cause expired. Still in short intervals of pleasing woe, regardful of the friendly dues I owe, I to the glorious dead, forever dear, indulge the tribute of a grateful tear. But oh, Ulysses, deeper than the rest, that sad idea wounds my anxious breast. My heart bleeds fresh with agonizing pain, the bowl and tasteful viands tempt in vain. Nor sleep's soft power can close my streaming eyes, when imaged to my soul his sorrows rise. No peril in my cause he ceased to prove, his labors equaled only by my love, and both alike to bitter fortune born, for him to suffer and for me to mourn. Whether he wanders on some friendly coast, or glides in Stygian gloom a pensive ghost, no fame reveals, but, doubtful of his doom, his good old sire, with sorrow, to the tomb, declines his trembling steps, untimely care withers the blooming vigor of his heir, and the chaste partner of his bed and throne wastes all her widowed hours in tender moan. While thus pathetic to the prince he spoke, from the brave youth the streaming passion broke. Studious to veil the grief in vain repressed, his face he shrouded with his purple vest. The conscious monarch pierced the coy disguise, and viewed his filial love with vast surprise. Dubious to press the tender theme or wait, to hear the youth inquire his father's fate. In this suspense bright Helen graced the room, before her breathed a gale of rich perfume. So moves, adorned with each attractive grace, the silver-shafted goddess of the chase. The seat of majesty Adraste brings, with art illustrious for the pomp of kings, to spread the pall beneath the regal chair. Of softest wool is bright Alcippus' care. A silver canister divinely wrought, in her soft hands the beauteous Philo brought. To Sparta's queen of old the radiant vase Alcandra gave, a pledge of royal grace. For Polybus her lord, whose sovereign sway the wealthy tribes of Pharian Thebes obey. When to that court Atrides came, caressed with vast munificence the imperial guest, 2 lavers from the richest ore refined, with silver tripods the kind host assigned, and bounteous from the royal treasure told 10 equal talents of refulgent gold. Alcandra, consort of his high command, a golden distaff gave to Helen's hand, and that rich vase with living sculpture wrought, which heaped with wool the beauteous Philo brought. The silken fleece, empurpled for the loom, rivaled the hyacinth in vernal bloom. The sovereign seat then Jove-born Helen pressed, and pleasing thus her sceptred lord addressed. Who grace our palace now, that friendly pair? Speak they their lineage, or their names declare? Uncertain of the truth, yet uncontrolled, hear me the bodings of my breast unfold. With wonder wrapped on yonder check I trace the feature of the Ulyssian race. Diffused o'er each resembling line appear, in just similitude, the grace and air of young Telemachus, the lovely boy, who blessed Ulysses with a father's joy. What time the Greeks combined their social arms to avenge the stain of my ill-fated charms. Just is thy thought, the king assenting cries. Methinks Ulysses strikes my wondering eyes. Full shines the father in the filial frame, his port, his features, and his shape the same. Such quick regards his sparkling eyes bestow, such wavy ringlets o'er his shoulders flow. And when he heard the long disastrous store of cares which in my cause Ulysses bore, dismayed, heart-wounded with paternal woes, above restraint the tide of sorrow rose. Cautious to let the gushing grief appear, his purple garment veiled the falling tear. See there confessed, Pisistratus replies, the genuine worth of Ithacus the wise. Of that heroic sire the youth is sprung, but modest awe hath chained his timorous tongue. Thy voice, O king, with pleased attention heard, is like the dictates of a god revered. With him at Nestor's high command I came, whose age I honor with a parent's name. By adverse destiny constrained to sue, for counsel and redress he sues to you. Whatever ill the friendless orphan bears, bereaved of parents in his infant years, still must the wronged Telemachus sustain, if, hopeful of your aid, he hopes in vain. Affianced in your friendly power alone, the youth would vindicate the vacant throne. Is Sparta blessed, and these desiring eyes view my friend's son? The king exulting cries. Son of my friend, by glorious toils approved, whose sword was sacred to the man he loved, mirror of constant faith revered and mourned, when Troy was ruined had the chief returned. No Greek an equal space had e'er possessed of dear affection in my grateful breast. I, to confirm the mutual joys we shared, for his abode a capital prepared. Argos, the seat of sovereign rule, I chose. Fair in the plan the future palace rose, where my Ulysses and his race might reign, and portion to his tribes the wide domain. To them my vassals had resigned a soil, with teeming plenty to reward their toil. There, with commutual zeal, we both had strove in acts of dear benevolence and love. Brothers in peace, not rivals in command, and death alone dissolved the friendly band. Some envious power the blissful scene destroys, vanished are all the visionary joys. The soul of friendship to my hope is lost, fated to wander from his natal coast. He ceased. A gush of grief began to rise. Fast streams a tide from beauteous Helen's eyes. Fast for the sire the filial sorrows flow. The weeping monarch swells the mighty woe. Thy cheeks, Pisistratus, the tears bedew, while pictured so thy mind appeared in view. Thy martial brother on the Phrygian plain, extended pale by swarthy Memnon slain. But silence soon the son of Nestor broke, and melting with fraternal pity spoke. Frequent, O king, was Nestor wont to raise, and charm attention with thy copious praise. To crowd thy various gifts the sage assigned the glory of a firm, capacious mind. With that superior attribute control this unavailing impotence of soul. Let not your roof with echoing grief resound. Now for the feast the friendly bowl is crowned. But when from dewy shade emerging bright, Aurora streaks the sky with orient light, let each deplore his dead. The rites of woe are all, alas, the living can bestow, or the congenial dust enjoined to shear the graceful curl and drop the tender tear. Then, mingling in the mournful pomp with you, I'll pay my brother's ghost a warrior's due, and mourn the brave Antilochus, a name not unrecorded in the rolls of fame, with strength and speed superior formed, in fight to face the foe or intercept his flight. Too early snatched by fate, ere known to me, I boast a witness of his worth in thee. Young and mature, the monarch thus rejoins, if thee renewed the soul of Nestor shines, formed by the care of that consummate sage, in early bloom an oracle of age, whene'er his influence Jove vouchsafes to shower, to bless the natal and the nuptial hour, from the great sire transmissive to the race, the boon devolving gives distinguished grace. Such, happy Nestor, was thy glorious doom. Around thee, full of years, thy offspring bloom, expert of arms and prudent in debate, the gifts of heaven to guard thy hoary state. But now let each becalm his troubled breast, wash and partake serene the friendly feast. To move thy suit, Telemachus, delay, till heaven's revolving lamp restores the day. He said, Asphalion, swift the labor brings, alternate all partake the grateful springs, then from the rites of purity repair, and with keen gust the savory viands share. Meantime, with genial joy to warm the soul, bright Helen mixed a mirth-inspiring bowl, tempered with drugs of sovereign use to assuage the boiling bosom of tumultuous rage, to clear the cloudy front of wrinkled care, and dry the tearful sluices of despair. Charmed with that virtuous draught, the exalted mind all sense of woe delivers to the wind, though on the blazing pile his parent lay, or a loved brother groaned his life away, or darling son, oppressed by ruffian force, fell breathless at his feet, a mangled corse. From morn to eve, impassive and serene, the man entranced would view the dreadful scene. These drugs, so friendly to the joys of life, bright Helen learned from Thone's imperial wife, who swayed the scepter where prolific Nile with various simples clothes the fattened soil. With wholesome herbage mixed the direful bane of vegetable venom taints the plain. From Paeon sprung, their patron god imparts to all the Pharian race his healing arts. The beverage now prepared to inspire the feast, the circle thus the beauteous queen addressed. Throned in omnipotence, supremest Jove tempers the fates of human race above. By the firm sanction of his sovereign will, alternate are decreed our good and ill. To feastful mirth be this white hour assigned, and sweet discourse the banquet of the mind. Myself, assisting in the social joy, will tell Ulysses' bold exploit in Troy. Sole witness of the deed I now declare, speak you, who saw his wonders in the war. Seamed o'er with wounds which his own saber gave, in the vile habit of a village slave, the foe deceived, he passed the tented plain in Troy to mingle with the hostile train. In this attire secure from searching eyes, till happily piercing through the dark disguise, the chief I challenged, he whose practiced wit knew all the serpent mazes of deceit, eludes my search. But when his form I viewed, fresh from the bath, with fragrant oils renewed, his limbs in military purple dressed, each brightening grace the genuine Greek confessed. A previous pledge of sacred faith obtained, till he the lines and Argive fleet regained. To keep his stay concealed, the chief declared, the plans of war against the town prepared. Exploring then the secrets of the state, he learned what best might urge the Dardan fate. And safe returning to the Grecian host, sent many a shade to Pluto's dreary coast. Loud grief resounded through the towers of Troy, but my pleased bosom glowed with secret joy. For then with dire remorse and conscious shame I viewed the effects of that disastrous flame, which kindled by the imperious queen of love, constrained me from my native realm to rove, and oft in bitterness of soul deplored my absent daughter and my dearer lord, admired among the first of human race for every gift of mind and manly grace. Right well, replied the king, your speech displays the matchless merit of the chief you praise. Heroes in various climes myself have found, for martial deeds and depth of thought renowned. But Ithacus, unrivaled in his claim, may boast a title to the loudest fame. In battle calm he guides the rapid storm, wise to resolve and patient to perform. What wondrous conduct in the chief appeared, when the vast fabric of the steed we reared. Some demon anxious for the Trojan doom urged you with great Deiphobus to come, to explore the fraud with guile opposed to guile, slow pacing thrice around the insidious pile. Each noted leader's name you thrice invoke, your assent varying as their spouses spoke. The pleasing sounds each latent warrior warmed, but most Tydides, and my heart alarmed. To quit the steed we both impatient press, threatening to answer from the dark recess. Unmoved the mind of Ithacus remained, and the vain ardors of our love restrained. But Anticlus, unable to control, spoke loud the language of his yearning soul. Ulysses straight, with indignation fired, for so the common care of Greece required. Firm to his lips his forceful hands applied, till on his tongue the fluttering murmurs died. Meantime Minerva from the fraudful horse, back to the court of Priam bent your course. Inclement fate, Telemachus replies, frail is the boasted attribute of the wise. The leader mingled with the vulgar host, in this the common mass of matter lost. But now let sleep the painful waste repair of sad reflection and corroding care. He ceased. The menial fare that round her wait, at Helen's beck, prepare the room of state. Beneath an ample portico they spread the downy fleece to form the slumberous bed, and o'er soft palls of purple grain unfold rich tapestry stiff with interwoven gold. Then through the illumined dome to balmy rest the obsequious herald guides each princely guest. while to his regal bower the king ascends, and beauteous Helen on her lord attends. Soon as the morn, in orient purple dressed, unbarred the portal of the roseate east. The monarch rose, magnificent to view, the imperial mantle o'er his vest he threw. The glittering zone athwart his shoulders cast, a starry falchion low depending graced. Clasped on his feet the embroidered sandals shine, and forth he moves, majestic and divine. Instant to young Telemachus he pressed, and thus benevolent his speech addressed. Say, royal youth, sincere of soul report, which cause hath led you to the Spartan court? Do public or domestic care constrain this toilsome voyage o'er the surgy main? O high-favored delicate of Jove, replies the prince, inflamed with filial love and anxious hope to hear my parents' doom, a suppliant to your royal court I come. Our sovereign seat elude usurping race, with lawless riot and misrule disgrace. To pampered insolence devoted fall, prime of the flock and choicest of the stall. For wild ambition wings their bold desire, and all to mount the imperial bed aspire. But prostrate I implore, O king, relate the mournful series of my father's fate. Each known disaster of the man disclose, born by his mother to a world of woes. Recite them, nor in erring pity fear, to wound with storied grief the filial ear. If e'er Ulysses to reclaim your right avowed his zeal in council or in fight, if Phrygian camps the friendly toils attest, to the sire's merit give the son's request. Deep from his inmost soul Atrides sighed, and thus, indignant, to the prince replied. Heavens, what a soft, inglorious dastard train, an absent hero's nuptial joys profane! So with her young amid the woodland shades, a timorous hind the lion's court invades, leaves in the fatal lair the tender fawns, climbs the green cliff or feeds the flowery lawns. Meantime returned with dire remorseless sway, the monarch savage rends the trembling prey. With equal fury and with equal fame, Ulysses soon shall reassert his claim. O Jove supreme, whom gods and men revere, and thou to whom 'tis given to gild the sphere, with power congenial joined, propitious aid, the chief adopted by the martial maid. Such to our wish the warrior soon restore, as when contending on the Lesbian shore, his prowess Philomelides confessed, and loud acclaiming Greeks the victor blessed. Then soon the invaders of his bed and throne their love presumptuous shall with life atone. With patient ear, O royal youth, attend the storied labor of thy father's friend. Fruitful of deeds, the copious tale is long, but truth severe shall dictate to my tongue. Learn what I heard the sea-born seer relate, whose eye can pierce the dark recess of fate. Long on the Egyptian coast by calms confined, heaven to my fleet refused a prosperous wind. No vows had we preferred, nor victims slain. For this the gods each favoring gale restrain, jealous to see their high behests obeyed, severe if men the eternal rites evade. High o'er a gulfy sea, the Pharian isle fronts the deep roar of disemboguing Nile. Her distance from the shore, the course begun at dawn and ending with the setting sun. A galley measures when the stiffer gales rise on the poop and fully stretch the sails. There, anchored vessels safe in harbor lie, whilst limpid springs the failing cask supply. And now the 20th sun, descending, laves his glowing axle in the western waves. Still, with expanded sails, we court in vain propitious winds to waft us o'er the main. And the pale mariner at once deplores his drooping vigor and exhausted stores, when lo, a bright cerulean form appears, Proteus, her sire divine. With pity pressed, me soul, the daughter of the deep, addressed. What time, with hunger pined, my absent mates roam the wide isle in search of rural cates. Bait the barbed steel, and from the fishy flood appease the afflictive, fierce desire of food. Whoe'er thou art, the azure goddess cries, thy conduct ill deserves the praise of wise. Is death thy choice, or misery thy boast, that here inglorious on a barren coast thy brave associates droop, a meager train, with famine pale, and ask thy care in vain? Struck with the loud reproach, I straight reply, whate'er thy title in thy native sky, a goddess, sure, for more than moral grace, speaks thee, descendant of ethereal race. Deem not that here of choice my fleet remains, some heavenly power averse my stay constrains. O piteous of my fate, vouchsafe to show, for what's sequestered from celestial view. What power becalms the innavigable seas? What guilt provokes him, and what vows appease? I ceased, when affable the goddess cried, observe, and in the truths I speak confide. The oracular seer frequents the Pharian coast, from whose high bed by birth divine I boast. Proteus, a name tremendous o'er the main, the delicate of Neptune's watery reign. Watch with insidious care his known abode, there fast in chains constrain the various god, who bound, obedient to superior force, unerring will prescribe your destined course. If studious on your realms you then demand their state, since last you left your natal land, instant the god obsequious will disclose bright tracts of glory or a cloud of woes. She ceased, and suppliant thus I made reply, O goddess, on thy aid my hopes rely. Dictate propitious to my duteous ear, what arts can captivate the changeful seer? For perilous the essay, unheard the toil, to elude the prescience of a god by guile. Thus to the goddess mild my suit I end, then she, obedient to my rule attend, when through the zone of heaven the mounted sun hath journeyed half, and half remains to run.